So you guys are both mic buttons. Alright. It's a very wide mic.
Reflection.
And almost like antimatter.
Yeah, I know.
That's good. That's a good
You
attachment.
think for 5 seconds there, Tony bought it? When I said we're doing both. Oh, it's
I bought it for a second there.
The stomach dropped.
You had me.
That was great.
I just didn't know how long to go.
Oh, it was classic. The time
Because you didn't have the full Buddy Miles death look, but you had the eyes.
No, the eyes were hard, yeah, and I mean this.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready when you are.
I wonder if he would have capitulated had I carried on.
Are you ready?
Damn, we'll never know now. We might have got into a, well, you can start the show then, or you can, maybe we could... No, it wouldn't work, would it? I don't know. Carry on.
Start it with Heaven's in Here.
Carry on, Lawrence.
Here we go. I'll start it with I Can't Read.
Yeah, no, you see, if we get the sound
Right
together.
now, the way you guys got together has been somewhat well documented. Nonetheless, I'd like to go back to a couple of quotes that were supplied by the record company from an interview that you did for radio here in New York. The impression it gives is that you agreed on, the four of you agreed on a particular music that you wanted to make, in part out of boredom with whatever was being done elsewhere, and the other half was like a writing on the wall that the four of you happened to have all seen, which was another sound to create together. So I know it's clumsily put, but hopefully it makes sense to you. What was that very thing that you all agreed, that determined that you were the four ones that were to be in that band? Those four and not others. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yes is the answer.
Discontent with...
Music. Is it music?
I thought you were going to say former wives, but music.
Discontent with former wives, yeah. A general discontent with what we were involved in musically generally, I guess, drew us together.
Yeah. That's the first half. The other one. That boredom could lead one to any sort of remedy. But you seem to have agreed on that particular Teen Machine sound.
I think the thing that we have in common was that we would take the slimmest musical idea and take it as far out as we could. You know, that sense of like adventure, maybe that's the word. Or
Adventure and brotherhood.
Adventure and brotherhood and love.
Not to mention togetherness.
I told you not to mention.
That was sort of willing to take chances and not worrying about playing notes that might be considered wrong notes in other bands. You know.
So, in each gathering of that sort, let's take the Magnificent Seven, for instance. You have the one
you take
who's in charge of the TNT, you've got the Whipman, you've got... I won't ask which one of you is the Whipman. You've got the one who's handy with the knives and so forth. Each one has a specialty. Could you each state your own specialty? What do you bring? When everything is said and done,
And the major failing of this band is there's too many strong men in it.
Yeah.
We need the weak man, but we haven't got one, and that's probably one of our strengths and one of our weaknesses, both probably. I don't know. Time will tell.
We're living proof that democracy is
inadequate.
That answers half of the question. Doesn't say what. I mean, aside from saying, well, I'm the drummer, so obviously I bring the beat. But what?
No, I'm the drummer.
Yeah. what character each of you brings to the music? If you were, let's assume that there is a divorce and you have to claim,
Alimony.
Yes,
alimony.
It's funny you should say that because there are 4 divorces.
There are 4 divorces within
and I think that each of us
Only 4?
Just brings a sense of balance unto himself, to the whole, with this situation, and because we're all friends, you know, and so we can be
ourselves.
We can be vulnerable with each other, you know, and personally, I like to think that I can just in music play what I want to play in the studio, and it will complement whatever's being played by the other guys, you know. And if not, these guys are sure to tell me about it, you know, and it's okay. You know, we feel comfortable with each other in the studio.
A better example than the Magnificent Seven might be the Marx Brothers. Are you familiar with the Marx Brothers? And it's more like Chico.
No, it's Tito.
Chico, Harpo, Groucho, and Zeppo. And those are the
Zippy.
Sorry?
Zeppo is the one who gets the girl, if I recall.
Well, he's usually the quieter, more serious one, I think.
There was another one.
Yeah.
Bubba.
Zeppo.
There was there was one. There wasn't the one that used to sing.
Herb.
There were 2, in fact, and one of them ended up managing the rest of them.
Chico. Was Chico, Zeppo, Harpo, Groucho,
Elmore.
and
Elmore. He was the slide guitar player of the family.
There's what they call here classic rock quality to what you did. I mean, I'm sure that it does not escape you that people all over American radios and American press who are not known for being the most avant-garde people are beaming with pleasure about Tin Machine, just because, as you have stated, one can hear Hendrix scream, but not only that, but for some reason, the fact that it's there makes a lot of people happy. Knowing that at least one of the members of the Tin Machine, has been deemed, wrongfully or rightfully so, for at least 10 years, Mr. Innovation in rock and roll, you know, for...
I thank you very much.
Does it go to show that classic rock thing, and that going back to, or going forward, I don't know, to 60s, 70s quality is unescapable, that this is indeed the way it has to be?
I think if you take complete random, if you take 2 major bands, say Fine Young Cannibals, and take at the other extreme, say a Sonic Youth, if you look at both those bands, you immediately see the roots. It doesn't deny what that they've added or claimed as their own territory with the music they're playing. But with Fine Young Cannibals, it's very obvious early Marvin Gaye and Tamla Motown roots. I mean, you can even pick out bits. With Sonic, you can pick out great slabs of Velvet Underground and Glenn Branca. But it's what you do with those roots that's the important thing. And there can be other bands who I wouldn't mention who have the same kinds of roots yet just sound like shit.
Mm-hmm. That brings that question to...
I think the actual individual ideas and our interpretations of the things that we've learned as musicians through time make this band what it is. We stand or fall by our own talents and enthusiasms as to what we put into our music, you know, and that's what will make you have 2 bands with the same roots, and one will be great and one won't be great.
I'm sure it does not escape you either that another way to state the overall enthusiasm that Tin Machine has generated was for a lot of people to say in substance, David Bowie has come back to, and then 3 points, either his senses, his real self, music, So how instrumental, so to speak, have the 3 of you guys been in that? I don't know if that's coming to your senses or whatnot, but I mean, if indeed something happened and if a course was taken, how instrumentals were you?
Coming back from where? I just think it's, you know, you wake up a new day, let me try this or let me try that, and you always, hopefully you always keep growing, moving forward. So
Hunt's been in the 60s, actually, since the 60s.
Since
pretty much.
Way before.
No, he was actually in the 60s back in the 50s, I think.
That's not quite the question. I mean,
no, we answered it anyway, though.
Your question was, what is your question in short form?
He's saying what in terms of collaborations is this a 4-part piece of music, or is it my ideas that have been interpreted by others?
Okay, that's
okay. Then you better restate your question, because then I've got the wrong idea.
Okay, where's the point? The Teen Machine album got a lot of people saying, here we're getting our David Bowie back. He's playing music that we can relate to more than to his last 3 albums. Obviously, there's a new set of circumstances, because instead of being a David Bowie project, it's a Teen Machine project.
Yeah.
Hence, the assumption that in part or in whole, that improvement, if you want to look at it as an improvement, at least in terms of communication of a project to the audience, has to be credited to the addition of 3 other members to
Yes.
So what are you asking us?
How did it go? I mean,
well, then in a way you're equating our their satisfaction, the audience satisfaction, with how much we have to do.
No, that's not.
Let's do it this way.
We sketched out the ideas for each song in the studio. I can just say what we did in the studio, and then everybody interpreted their own lines and their own approach to the piece of music. So to the other 3 members of the band, to the regular member of the band, it was an ungiven. There was a mystique as to how the other 3 would approach that song. So inevitably, the end of the song and creating the song was a surprise to all 4 of us, because we didn't really know how the others would approach it. So in that ways, it was.
And I think the common denominator, you said that people reacted that it was David has gotten back to his senses, or he's gotten back to his roots, or what was there was another one that you had.
I don't know.
I think that if people are reacting like, he's finally playing music that we like, the people are saying that, it's only because we're playing music we like.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's
a very major part.
Yeah, without sounding too corny about it.
Yeah, without sounding corny or cliched.
It's really not too deep.
You know.
But I mean, if we want to speak about, David has done all kinds of music. There's going to be some stuff that one person likes this or doesn't like that. So as have Reeves and myself. So we're going to get to it. You know.
Let's have a word about the. I don't know how much time we have. Let's have two more questions. Let's have a word about the cover of Working Class Hero. That song, as you played, while being obviously of universal relevance and appeal, can really be taken as an indictment of the British society, which is one of the less mobile, even to these days, and it must not have the same meaning for you 3 Americans as for the Englishman among you who also happens to be an expatriate. And I'm just throwing things against the wall here, but it so happens that this song has been written by a British expatriate who has obviously tired with what he had left behind. Of all the songs that Teen Machine could have picked up, it's this one. What prompted you to?
I think for me, it's not a British. It's British in as much as it's written by an Englishman. But in a more general term, that what he's saying on it applies at very much an international level. Yeah. I mean, the kids these days are not being equipped for a world that primarily is technically far superior to any kind of training they're getting at school. I mean, that nobody's is being given a kind of armory to get out and find a structure in which they fit in a world that's seemingly becoming so cataclysmic. Mm-hmm. And for me, having a son of fast approaching school leaving age, he's 18 now, and if he doesn't go to university, he's going to have to go out and find a place in life. I can see the same fears and worries going through his head about how much of it he understands and exactly what is the purpose of daily life. It doesn't seem anymore to have any values that really mean a shit. You know, it's very hard for him to understand the structure, because in fact I think the structure seems to be decaying rapidly, you know.
But
that was my reason for
at no
choosing
point
the song.
A kind of kinship or conspiracy with someone who may have experimented the same set of circumstances and taken the same steps enter the picture?
I think that might come out of the fact that both John and I probably travelled an incredible amount. I mean, other than just touring, you know. I mean, both of us. I know John was always travelling here, there and everywhere when he wasn't working, and I tend to do much the same thing. And so for me, the lyrics on that song are as much of a truism international as I presume they were for him too. How badly equipped we are to face this particular world.
I guess we are touching the end of this. If you bear with me, I have refrained, and that was easy to do, from all the questions that you can imagine.